Hey everyone, you're listening to InfoQuench with Jeff.
And Amy. We're chatting about how to get the most out of life.
And covering a ton of interesting topics.
So there's sure to be something.
For just about everyone. Let's get to it. Hey everybody, and welcome to InfoQuench. I'm your host, Jeff.
And I'm Amy. And this episode is all about Hookah.
Hookah?
Hookah.
What's that? Is that something you smoke from? No, that's hookah.
When I first heard this word, I had it playing in my head. Ooga chaka, ooga, ooga.
Oh yeah,
you know
from that song.
Though?
Can't fight this feeling deep inside
I'm hooked on
me.
Yes, I'm hooked on a feeling.
Hooked on a feeling from Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs. I always get those two mixed up.
But do you know who sings it?
I do, actually. But I can't think of it offhand.
Blue Suede.
Blue Suede. No, you know what? I didn't know
Or
that.
it could be Blue Swede.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
How do you spell suede?
What is the suede? S-E-U-E-D-E? Something like that? Suede?
I don't think that's it. But anyway.
S-U-E-D-E. That's it.
Right.
S-U-E-D-E.
Okay. So this band's name is S-W-E-D-E. So I don't know what that's about. Unless it was just a typo in Google.
I don't know either. That's interesting.
Very much derailed this one. But Hygge. Hygge is a Scandinavian term, and it encompasses a feeling of coziness, contentment, and well-being that's found through cherishing the little things. All of that is encompassed in the one term, Hygge.
Hygge.
And our episode is on comfort tips from Danish culture based on this concept of Hygge.
Could I ask, please, how do you spell Hygge?
Hygge is actually spelled H-Y-G-G-E.
I think they're wrong. I don't think that's how it's spelled.
This is why I had to look up how to pronounce it in many, many different locations, because I too was like, how could that be Hygge? But you know what, Jeff? It's a different language. So sometimes, even though it doesn't look like it's pronounced that way the English language, when it's from another country and a different language and culture, it can be spelled in a different way, yet pronounced Hygge.
Okay.
It's spelled H-Y-G-G-E.
Okay. I think they were smoking a hookah when they spelled Hygge.
And it's
Anyway.
a defining characteristic of Danish culture. And like most definitions we say on our episodes, I'm certain our listeners will now hear this everywhere. There's actually a lot of books on it. I heard it mentioned in a few different places within the course of just a couple of weeks. So I was thinking, this is something I need to look into a little bit more. And that was where the inspiration for the episode came from.
See, I may be wrong, but I do feel like it was mentioned in the last episode of Billions that we watched, because I didn't research it. Nobody else is going to. So we don't know for sure, but I know that he mentioned some kind of word that meant exactly what Hygge means.
That's right. If you're a Billions fan, the newest season, well, I think it's actually the second half of the current season is now available. They had to stop filming because of the pandemic, and it's now starting back up again. So be sure to check it out if you're into that thing. And yeah, they may or may not have said Hygge in a recent episode of Billions, but
I'm going to find out.
have you ever felt that cozy feeling of, curling up with a book when it's rainy outside, or sipping on hot chocolate on a cold, snowy day?
No, but I see it most nights when you get all cozied up on the couch in your little den, when you have your weighted blanket and stuff.
It's my
Love that.
nest.
Yeah, it's your little net. That's what Huxley called it tonight, our little 8-year-old. He's like, I'm in Mummy's den. I do understand what you mean.
My nest is the essence of Hygge.
Yeah.
So in this episode, we're just going to talk about some of the principles of Hygge and how you can get a little bit more Hygge in your life. A little bit more comfy, cozy, contentment, well-being, all those lovely, warm feelings.
I think we have a collective acceptance of the concept of Hygge, because we are a family who all use blankets, whether it's summer or winter or whatever. We always have a blanket over
I know.
us.
It's true.
It's kind of funny, and I think it's a comfort thing myself. But I mean, I'm not usually that cold, though. You know.
No, not usually in August.
No, not in August. No, it's not like, yeah.
So the quote for this episode is, how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. And it's by an author. Her name is Annie Dillard.
I never heard of Annie Dillard.
Well, you have now, and now you've heard her quote.
I wonder what quote that book comes from. Or if sometimes quotes don't come from books. But she is an author, so I just assumed.
It does come from a book, and I'll leave that to our listeners to Google up the exact name of the book.
That's right. That's my goal for this podcast, is just to point out all the things you did not research. And I did not research.
So although
Anyway.
Hygge is, something that we may think about more in the colder, blustery seasons, it's actually practiced in Scandinavian culture all year round.
Oh.
But it is especially fitting for fall. So that's why I thought this was a great episode to release in October.
Absolutely.
As a side note, our son Hux asked me, why is it called fall and instead of autumn or versus autumn? And the best I could come up with was like that we call it fall because the leaves fall. You ever get questions from your kids and you're like, it really points out how little you might know about something. Right. I'm like, I don't know why there are two words for the season.
I don't know either, but I would have came up with some kind of, mythological, it's fall. It's the fall of summer. The next season has defeated summer, so now it's getting colder and summer has fallen.
Well, that's quite a visual. It's like
very
there's a whole
Lord of the
war
Rings.
taking place amongst the seasons.
Yeah, it's Lord of the Rings seasons.
Here's where
Season
you can.
1.
Here's where.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm on fire tonight.
Here's what you ask me, Amy. Did you happen to research what fall versus autumn and how those terms came about?
Well, I think you did.
I did. Why, as a matter of fact, I'm so glad you asked, Jeff.
What did you come up with?
So, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, the older of the two words is autumn, which first came into English in the 1300s. And it comes from the Latin word autumnus. It had extensive use right from its first appearance in English writing, and with good reason, because the common name for this season prior to the arrival of the word autumn was harvest, which confused people because harvest can be the time of year when you're harvesting crops, but it can also just mean to actually harvest crops. So people were like, are you talking about the verb to harvest? Or are you talking about the season?
I could see a lot of ancient conversations going awry there.
I know. And so that's why autumn was
Fights.
just like a huge hit. They're like, okay, we got a new
People
word.
throwing pumpkins at one another.
So poets continued to be wowed by the changes that autumn brought. And in time, the phrase, the fall of the leaves, came to be associated with the season. And it was shortened in the 1600s to fall. So then they just became used interchangeably.
So no Lord of the
Fall,
Rings
autumn for the
defeating, seasons defeating other seasons or anything like that?
No, well, we
No.
can do that in your non-researched version of
I think
the
it
words.
I think it would be a good children's book, actually.
Back to Hygge.
Hygge.
So during times of upheaval, when both public and personal perceptions of safety and community are at risk, which I think is really fitting, given the ongoing pandemic, it's common to yearn for this sense of Hygge. And there's actually, I mentioned several books on it, but one of the authors, Mike Wyken, he wrote a book and he talks about the concept of Hygge being traced back as early as the 1800s in Denmark. But it's also practiced in neighboring countries such as Sweden and Norway.
So how is this actually practiced in Denmark?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
There are a few primary principles of Hygge, and that's what we're going to go through in this episode so that people can figure out some ways that maybe they can incorporate a little bit more Hygge in their lives.
All right.
The very first one is atmosphere.
Atmosphere.
And so some ways you can create atmosphere in your home.
Lighting.
Well, it might be, exactly. Lighting is a big one. Candles.
Yeah. Candles.
Make sure that
which
they're...
is lighting.
Make sure they're fire-safe candles. Otherwise, they're just anxiety-inducing. Well, for me, anyway.
Most adults know how to use candles properly.
One would think.
Yeah.
One would think.
Yeah.
But no,
Do
not
you have
all.
a story coming here?
No, but did you ever
okay.
see pictures of old Christmas trees where they talked about people actually lit candles and placed them in the tree?
I have heard
And
of this.
I'm like, we can't even leave our tree up too long with the LED lights, and we're worried because the tree dries out and we're worried it'll burn the house down. And back then they were lighting candles and putting them on a tree and just balancing them on a branch.
Wait, that's something that you worried about. I don't worry about the LED candles or the lights burning down the tree. I've never worried about that, but I understand what you're saying, though.
Well, you should worry about such things.
I would worry though if they were real candles, and they were like dripping all over the place with their wax, and that would not be good.
So if if candles cause you anxiety, listeners, maybe skip the candles because they won't induce hygge feelings of comfort.
No.
But there are other ways to create atmosphere. Of course, fireplaces. A lot of these involve fire, I'm noticing.
Smoke machines.
Smoke machines. Just get one going in your living room and work that one out. But you'll notice that a lot of people like to put up fall decorations or decorate their front porch. Even scents or stovetop potpourri.
Sounds a lot like Halloween.
Well, it does. I mean,
Danes,
I'm very focused on the fall aspects of hygge. And I remember being at somebody's house and I was like, what are you cooking on the stove there? And they lifted up the lid of the pot. Well, no, there wasn't a lid on it now that I think of it because I could just smell it. But anyway.
You're making this up.
You could tell it's a big lie. No, I remember it. I remember it so clearly, except for the pot part. I didn't remember that clearly.
And what was in it and who you were. Anyway.
You boil water on top of your stove, and you can float citrus in it, different spices, cloves, and it is a natural potpourri that permeates your house and just puts a really nice smell out there.
Yeah.
And, it's...
better than the compost, that's for sure. So, yeah, so you could do like orange rinds and stuff, right?
Yes,
and
definitely.
Just all kinds of...
I was at a gathering. It was a coworker.
Gathering. Dungeons and Dragons or magic?
Is that the only time people gather?
I don't know. It just sounded like it. Wiccan, something like that,
No, it was like a coworker was having people over for a holiday gathering.
Oh, okay.
Of the non-Wiccan variety.
Okay.
And
everybody was wearing robes? Oh, sorry.
There were no robes.
Go ahead with your story. I'm sorry.
And the hostess had this on her stove, and I thought it was really cool. So I just thought I would share it with our listeners.
Have you ever done that, though? Have you ever done the potpourri?
I have. I've done it.
You've done it?
Well, what I've done is when I had a Christmas party years ago, I would put cider in a crock pot and serve it that way, warm it up, and then I would float on the surface of the cider slices of orange. And
just let the smelly steam.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was great because it wasn't wasteful. You could drink the cider, but you also got the smell of the cider. But if you are doing just water on the stovetop, don't let that water completely boil dry because...
You're always averting disasters.
Because it could cause a fire.
You're always averting disasters. It's
so make sure you keep an eye on that pot.
I don't know how you do it.
Throughout the entire gathering, keep an eye on the pot and keep adding water as necessary.
What kind of gathering is this?
Have you ever heard of a... Oh my... All right.
Go.
I'm getting it together.
All right,
Have you ever heard of a pomander ball?
A salamander ball?
No.
What? A pomander?
I might have to edit this out. I can't stop laughing. Pomander.
Pomander.
P-O.
Is it a Pokemon?
No.
What is it?
Pomander.
Okay, no, I haven't heard of it.
It's called pomander. And according to the Farmer's...
The Farmer's Almanac?
According to the Farmer's Almanac, medieval... I'm just sniffing because I'm now crying.
From laughing.
I'm laughing. That's what
your
I do.
husband's so funny.
When I laugh, I cry. It's a thing. Medieval herbalists used pomanders because they're medieval, so it happened in the past, hence the past tense of this sentence.
Okay.
And it was mixtures of fragrant, dried herbs in cloth bags or perforated boxes, and they used it to ward off illness or bring strength and good fortune. And the reason I bring this up is because you can actually make pomander balls and... I don't know why.
Hey, I'm not doing anything to make you laugh.
You're making a face.
Am
You're
I?
making
I
a
didn't even
pomander
know.
ball face.
I'm just trying to understand this whole pomander mystery.
Well, just Google it, listeners, because Martha Stewart will tell you all about it, complete with how to put a rubber band around an orange so that you can stick cloves into the orange in a straight line, and then you take the band off.
Sounds invasive.
And then you set the oranges in a decorative bowl and let the smell permeate your house.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Well, it is, but it's crafty, and people enjoy crafts.
And it sounds very similar to just a regular old potpourri pot with no lid.
Well, but it's more fresh and real, and a great way to waste oranges. And if you also...
Did you say a great way to waste oranges?
That's what I thought when I was reading about pomander balls. Because you're shoving a bunch of cloves in them, but then...
I got some oranges in the grocery order, honey. Let's waste them.
Well, sometimes you buy too many. And
It's true.
I guess this is a way to...
I buy too many?
You
You're
do.
blaming me?
You buy a
for
lot of
how many
fruit.
oranges are in the package?
I feel like it becomes my obligation to make sure all the fruit gets eaten before it goes bad.
I don't eat much fruit.
Have you
to be
looked at how
honest.
many apples we have? You just keep buying more apples.
I didn't buy apples this grocery order today.
Okay. Well, if you want to preserve the pomander balls a little longer, you can put them in the fridge overnight.
Why is this reminding me of the sweaty balls?
I think that's what I had in
Shtick.
the back of my head when I was
Oh, man.
crying through this one.
That's Saturday Night Live skit.
Let's move on to number 2 principle, which is being present. And
Be there.
I think this one's rather straightforward, but no devices, no dwelling on your past or worrying about your future. Just be present in your environment and your comfy coziness, whether you're curled up on the couch or spending time with
Wait
friends
a minute,
and family.
though. You can still curl up on the couch in your little den and worry about the future.
You can, but the idea is to try not to.
But what are you going to think about? Are you supposed to erase your mind?
Focus on your 5 senses.
Five
Think about what
senses.
you can smell, see, hear, touch, taste.
Focus on the smell of the pomander balls.
That's exactly it, Jeff.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. And the fog machine.
Yes,
Okay.
and you can watch the flicker of the candles.
In your
on-
Christmas tree
Yes, in your Christmas tree.
while you have a heart attack.
Number 3 is pleasure. So the concept of hygge can often be linked to specific
Okay.
foods or drinks, such as mulled wine with cardamom pods and star anise. I feel like I filled the research for this episode with the hardest words I could choose to
I
have
think
to try
you're
to
making
say.
these words up. You're just like, how
But-
difficult can I make this word sound?
Ways you can add pleasure into your life may involve reading, if that's something you choose to do and you enjoy it.
What if you're reading about the end of the world?
That would not be comforting.
That would not be comforting.
Baking muffins or cookies. Pumpkin spice is big this year.
Pumpkin spice is big every year this time of year.
It is. We actually have a local blogger here in St. John, New Brunswick. If you're on Instagram, I'm sure our listeners are on Instagram. Check out Petite Watson. This year she did a whole list and map of all the locations around our city where you can get pumpkin spice,
She's
where you can get your
fantastic.
fix. Charcuterie boards are big this time of year too.
Yep. That's
all
all I
you
have
got
to say about that. I will never pass up a charcuterie. How do you say it?
Charcuterie.
What are you doing to me? What are you doing to me?
I don't
this
know.
And yourself.
It started
Why
with
are you doing this to us?
It started with hygge, and then there was cardamom, and
Is this the way you want to tell me that you want to quit the podcast by just doing all these difficult words?
I know how great you are at tongue twisters.
Toy boat. Say
Toy
it 5
boat.
times.
You want to do your Betty Botter?
Well, why don't you do your McDonald's one? Because you will literally do that at any opportunity.
I know, because
So,
I have very few hidden talents.
I know.
Most of them are completely on display.
I love this one. This one is just like why I married you. Can you please do it?
I feel like I've done it on another episode.
Nah, maybe. But
Okay.
but it's no harm in doing it again. Wait. Set it up though first. Like tell people what you had to do.
Right. So when I was a kid, way back I'm going to say this was in the late 80s, early 90s, McDonald's had a contest where if you memorized their whole menu, you could get a free Big Mac.
Yeah.
And you had to say it at the store in front of the cashier within 30 seconds. So what they did is they printed up the menu and they put it on a card, and you could take it home and memorize it, and I did. Although I never followed through and actually got the Big Mac, I still remember the menu till this day.
Why didn't you get the Big Mac? You
I
could have
don't
given it to
know.
somebody.
Well, I lived out in the country. We just weren't really around McDonald's very often.
And just as a quick aside, can you imagine the boardroom meeting when that one person said, "Hey, how about we get our customers to memorize the entire menu? What do you guys think of that?"
Was this one person from like the mafia?
Yeah, I have to make him sound sinister because McDonald's is sinister. So
I've met other people who have memorized this menu.
okay,
At least
I
two
know,
other people.
I know. Yeah, I remember you guys.
Don't you have a coworker who also memorized
Didn't
it?
you guys do that like together at one point, like at the exact same time? Who was that? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Listen, on your mark, get set, go.
A Big Mac McDLT, a quarter pounder with cheese, filet of fish, a hamburger, a cheeseburger, chicken, and McNuggets, tasty golden French fries, regular and large sizes, Ember style, Shepherd Garden, chicken salad, Oriental, and for breakfast, egg McMuffin, hot case and sausage, maybe omelette McMuffin, all 3 kinds of Danish hash browns too. And for dessert, hot apple pie, sunny 3 varieties, a soft cone, 3 kinds of shakes, and chocolate cheese cookies, and a drink of Coca-Cola, Diet coconut, drink Sprite and coffee, and a chocolate, also apple, orange, grapefruit juice, at McDonald's, good time, great taste, and I get this all at one place.
And here's your Big Mac. No, thank you.
Now when I listen back, I'll actually be able to see if I finally did it within 30 seconds.
Oh, I'm sure you did. I timed you one time. You
Listeners, are you still with us, or did you?
I don't know.
They just fast forwarded.
It's time for mine now. No, I'm just joking. I'm not going to do my. Maybe at a later podcast.
Really?
Betty bought some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it'd make my batter bitter. So she bought some better butter, better than the bitter butter, and she put it in her batter and made her batter better. So it's better that Betty bought her a little bit of better butter.
Nicely done.
That's mine.
You couldn't help but do yours too.
I didn't screw it up once either.
No.
I even when I started thinking, I'm like, I started to think about what I was saying. That's usually when you screw it up, but I didn't. Anyway.
It was perfect. Just like you.
What is the number 3?
We did that one. We did number 3. It was pleasure.
Right. Okay.
So number 4 is comfort.
Comfort.
And they actually have specific Danish words for like the pants that you practically live in at home, or your favorite cozy nook or armchair, even for cozy socks. They're called Hygge sockers because soccer.
They're called that? Like if you go to the store to buy them, they're called Hygge socks?
Well, I don't know if it's like a store term or maybe it's just between friends term.
Okay.
But soccer is socks, and then they have Hygge socks. Huh. And so if you're looking for comfort, one of the things you can do is check out where your cats are hanging out. Yes. They are connoisseurs of comfort, those kitty cats.
Perhaps we shall share the photo of the cat laying on top of me that you took this evening as in our Instagram.
Yes, you seem to have these nightly cuddle sessions now with our cat Charlie.
I think he needs them. He's getting old. You know, he's an old kitty.
You think he needs them or you need them?
Well, he's not going to get them anywhere else. So I'm the only one that loves this cat in this house.
That's not true.
It's true, mostly.
True-ish, maybe. No, he's a great cat. I love him too, in case he's listening. Charlie, if you're listening, I love you. All right, comfort.
Behind you opened one eye.
I think the fact that the Danish just have special names for the pants that you practically live in and cozy places is awesome.
They're onto something.
I mean, I always change when I get home from work. Well, unless a lot of nights I have evening meetings. But if I don't have an evening meeting, the first thing I do is get into cozy apparel.
Yes, you do.
You know, throw blankets, not throwing punches.
No.
Knitted blankets, Afghans.
Flannel sheets.
Yes. Flannel sheets. We have converted to using flannel sheets all year round.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
It's weird. We have air conditioning on and then are using flannel sheets. I feel like that's a really bad energy suck. But we have to have the air conditioning on anyway because our sun is always really hot. So
you got to live, baby.
Anyway, that's what we do. We love our flannel sheets and they're super Hygge. And other ways that you can get Hygge in a comfy way. So you can get that feeling of comfort from hot beverages like tea or coffee.
Hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate, hot cocoa. Did you ever have like real hot cocoa?
I haven't. I never really liked it.
It's awful.
I never really
You had to put like a pound of sugar.
Or marshmallows.
In with cocoa to make it. Yeah. Like, it was so bitter.
A whole bag of marshmallows and
in one cup. It would never dissolve in the hot water. It would just be like chunks of this dry...
That's what I'm going to do. I am going to adopt this aspect of Hygge this winter as I'm going to drink more hot chocolate. There, I said it. I'm going to do it.
All right, I'm going to hold you to that, Jeff.
Okay, thanks. That's what I was waiting for.
Now are you going to do the old-fashioned cocoa kind of?
I'm going to do the cheapest, rip the package, pour it in the cup, and a little bit of marshmallows, maybe actual little mini marshmallows, a little bit of milk.
We always buy marshmallows for campfires, and we eat like 3, and then we have a bag of marshmallows forever.
Those things are filling, man.
They are, but they're made of like hooves.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're made like the gelatin comes from
delicious hooves.
Bone marrow or something. I don't know. Fact check that one. I could be wrong. That could be something someone told me years ago.
We'll have to have marshmallows at our gatherings.
Well, number 5, Jeff, of principles of Hygge is togetherness. Family, friends, pet cuddles,
Yeah.
All those things, whether it's, maybe playing board games. Our family, our extended family, my cousins and I, puzzle days were always a big thing where the family would get together and work on jigsaw puzzles. And we would get 2 of the same puzzles and we'd divide into 2 groups and see who could finish the puzzle first.
I have never enjoyed doing puzzles.
I'm not a really big puzzler either. I'm more of a sitting around and talking while everybody else does the puzzle.
Some people like the challenge of the most difficult puzzle. You know what I mean? You take like a fractal or something like that, and people will make a puzzle of it, and they'll spend what would take me a year, they will do in like a week.
Yeah, there's like a puzzle called, I think it's like the Purple Nightmare or something, and it's all just the same shade of purple.
Oh, great for someone who's colorblind.
Well, that doesn't matter because it's all one color.
Still
perfect for someone who's colorblind, I would think.
I don't know.
Number 6, the final principle of Hygge is gratitude.
Not if you can't see purple. Anyway, gratitude. Yes, be thankful, everyone, for anything that comes your way that's positive.
Well, yes, I think we should be, all these things that I mentioned, they really are a bit of a luxury. They may seem like simple things, and Hygge is about taking, stock of the simple things in life and seeking pleasure in those simple things. But the fact that we can even do these things, have access to these levels of comfort, is something to be grateful for, because not everybody has that. And it's not about buying more. It's not about, run out and buy all the new age candles and weighted blankets. Although I do really highly recommend a weighted blanket. I think it's really
and
good.
Candles. She loves candles too. Over. You got to be thankful, though, for the things that aren't positive as well, to be honest, because they teach you things. They teach you things that you wouldn't have already known.
That's true.
I'm trying to be philosophical here a little bit. You got to be thankful for everything that comes forward to you in life.
Yes, that's a good one, Jeff. I like that.
Thank you.
And it leads into a future episode we're going to do about life lessons, and I think that that's a perfect lead-in. So another takeaway I just want to mention around Hygge, one last comment, is it doesn't necessarily mean hibernating indoors. A lot of the examples we mentioned are indoor examples, but in the Scandinavian culture, outdoor activity is very important. So bike riding, woodland walks, stargazing are all considered part of the Hygge lifestyle. And that wraps up our discussion on Hygge. Now, on previous episodes, I had started doing a takeaway.
Takeaways.
I'm switching now. Switching it up. I'm going to do random tips.
You've never told me you're going to switch this up.
I know.
I learned so much about all podcasts as we do them. It's great.
And my random tip for this episode is how to escape dog attacks.
Dog attacks?
Yes.
That is completely random to what we were talking about.
I know, and that's what the randomness portion of the tip is all about. So I walk often in our city, and a great way to escape a dog attack, if a dog were to approach you and in a vicious way, is to jump up onto a car.
Ah.
Yeah, climb right up onto the roof.
I can just see you doing that.
Well, it's true. I mean, if you're walking along the sidewalk, there's usually cars parked nearby, and it's very hard for a dog to get up onto a car. I haven't really tried this, full disclosure. It's just something that I think I would try.
Did you think about this while you walked the streets?
I think about it often. And if you had a child with you, you could put them up on the roof of the car and at least protect them while the dog ate you.
And with that, we end this podcast. Thank you so much for listening, everybody.
May you avoid dog attack
stay away
in the
from
future.
Those rabid dogs and jump onto the cars if one comes around.
And put a little Hygge into your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening.
Be sure to check out past episodes and subscribe to keep up with what's new.
You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, and why not leave a review?
You can also follow InfoQuench on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Till next time.